to the Overplayed podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every single Thursday. My name is GoodGameBro, and I'm anxiously awaiting for more 5-star reviews. We hit 50 plus 5-star reviews, which we thank you for. But imagine if that number kept climbing and climbing and climbing. Maybe, just maybe, if enough people hit the 5-star review button, the gentleman sitting over there, that beardless stranger, your 5-star reviews could grow his beard back hair by hair, strand by strand. Look at him. We're watching the video version.
No, we talked about this.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about the beard anymore. I was hustled. Now, you understand, and we talked about this before the podcast. I put a picture up on Twitter because I was stupid.
Oof.
I looked like the guy from 90 Day Fiance. I look like, I don't know what his name is. I just know that if I pull everything back and you give yourself like double chin, I can give myself about 4 chins and absolutely look, because I have stubble now. For those who don't know, it's been long enough that now I've grown, my new teenage stubble here. And there's more gray, by the way. The thing I was worried about, definitely more gray in it than it was when we shaved it. I'm scared. I'm legitimately scared. I go back and watch the VOD of that stream multiple times. Nothing good happened. Yeah, I'm in a pit of despair. This is the low point of my life. And the fact that we the fact that we debuted it at GCX is just the icing on the cake. Bunch of people that, by the way, I look up to, I respect a ton. Bunch of people we work with, bunch of partners, Professor Broman, Darkness, Kevin, all of them. That's where I debuted it, in front of them on the space station at GCX. Fantastic feeling.
2 things. Yes, it is a fantastic feeling. That was the third thing. Here's 2 things. One, the gentleman's name you compare yourself to, for those people that don't know about 90 Day Fiance, incredible show, worth a watch, definitely funny. Big Ed is that gentleman's name.
Big Ed.
That's now may or may not resemble.
Big Mills.
May or may not resemble. Second thing, honestly, I just had the picture side by side in my head of you and Big Ed side by side, and I forgot my other thing. But what have you been playing, Mills? What have you and your beardless self been up to?
You're a monster. You know that, right?
Yes.
Anyway, so I started playing Dark Alliance, Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, which is a game that came out on Game Pass for PC and Xbox, also out on PlayStation as of a couple days ago. It's all right. I think I was expecting more of the Mordor fighting, and it's very clunky in terms of controls. The lore is there. The lore is very good. It takes place in Icewind Dale, and it's a very good Dungeons and Dragons game. It's not a great game overall. It needs a lot of polish. It's not something I could recommend. That being said, super excited for Friday because Mario Golf Super Rush comes out. They're introducing a mode which I think all golf games could use. It's essentially speed golf. And I think PGA Tour 2K21 does that right now with Divot Derby.
Yeah.
It's essentially, it's not about how many shots you take. It's about getting it into the hole faster. So even if you're like not aiming correctly or not being as clean as a shot, you have a better chance if you can just hit the ball quickly, which is kind of cool. I love that. And obviously Mario sports games have always done a fantastic job of having that like arcadey feel, but like even having a lot of really good sports mechanics underneath of them. I still miss the days of the Wii where we could use the little Wii controller for like golf and everything. I miss those days, but even now, the Switch, one of the best consoles out. Can't wait for Mario Golf on Friday.
Yep, I definitely plan to pick that up. I've introduced my daughter to Pokemon Snap. New one they launched a couple months back. Can't remember at this point. So now she's like, I want to play the Pokemon. So I'm like, okay, here we go. We're playing a little Pokemon. But that's great. So I've been playing a little bit of that personally. And then outside of that, heavy on Warzone. Not much to change over here for Good Game Brother. And I haven't played much Knockout City, but that Olympic Games, Tokyo 2020, have you seen that? That's going to be the next game I'm playing.
Just came out, right?
Just came out, I think, 2 days ago from the time that this podcast released. I saw Lyric playing it. Lyric's one of my favorite streamers, by the way. And it's an Olympic game. I was like, whatever.
Right.
I watched him play it for a good hour, 2 hours, and I was like, oh my God, I'm buying this game. It has everything you can think of from like an Olympic event style that you probably want to participate in. There's judo, there's rock climbing, there's table tennis. They have basketball, they have rugby, they have 4x4 relays, they have swimming. Like, bro, the list of stuff they have is kind of insane. Full customization of your character. Your character ends up being on the title screen too. Like, this is probably one of the better Olympic games I've seen. And
this is like they went more arcadish with like the graphics and everything. It feels like a almost super mega baseball-ish, a little more realistic than that, but like in that vein. I did see that. I saw baseball interest me. I saw baseball in some of the video for it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said it's like a lot of mini games, right? For it, like every Olympics game is. It's not like fully blown out versions of the sport. It's mini games of the sport going through. I saw like somebody throwing a dunk down from like the 3-point line. Like, it's a thrunk. Let's call it what it is. It's a thrunk.
Yeah.
All kinds of cool stuff. So.
Yeah, it's like I've been liking it too, like Mario Party, but a little bit more grown up, but still very like arcadey. There's like a ranking system in there too with your character, your avatar that you have. There's like full customization of the avatar too. I rarely would I ever recommend an Olympic game, but I genuinely think this is one of the few that are actually pretty good. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And honestly, when it comes to streamers, when you talk about Lyric playing something, if Lyric plays a game for more than an hour, that's saying something, because normally when new games come out, he will cycle through them and he has no problem dropping a game if he's not having fun with it. So that alone could be an awesome recommendation. We're talking about recommending things. Since we actually are allowed to talk about the playtest for Madden that I'm involved in, there's a playtest out that was a sign up a couple weeks ago, and we're in the heart of all access franchise week for Madden. Madden seems to be doing a week long info drop on every different mode. Finally, franchise is getting its love, and it's not Face the Franchise. It's core franchise mode. And man, can we just talk about some of the massive upgrades that are looking like are in this game, including the fact that it blows my mind. Madden is not, EA is not known as an open communication company normally. They're getting better. I think in terms of, in general, sports gaming can be a little closed off. And I think that's changing throughout sports gaming. And seeing Madden, what they're doing with this. Last year, we had 2 lines about franchise mode, and they were buried in a deep dive blog. This year, we've got a podcast out where they intro what the podcast, it's called the Making Madden podcast. If you guys are looking for it, it's up on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you can find us, you can find them. It's Tom Lichkey and Andre Weingarten, who we had on this podcast, talking franchise mode to start off with. And they brought in Sean Grady to talk about what the plans are for franchise mode. I loved hearing him talk about the fact that it's not just a 22 thing. There are plans for 23 and 24 down the road. Yep. Fantastic to hear that. And man, just I'm so blown away that they're really paying attention to franchise mode. Staff, like team staff stuff, coaching carousel that we've seen in NCAA. They're bringing those talent trees directly into there. New scouting has come out with the first update. Weekly game planning that actually means something. Player injuries. You get injured in practice now. There's different levels of practice. Like you can actually get to measure progressive fatigue and injuries and stuff, man. It's so good. And the computer uses it all. That's the best part, is all of these functions they're giving to the user. One of the biggest things I was worried about was, does the computer use it? The computer uses all of it. It's just, man, I know I'm a little chaotic talking about this, but it's so uplifting to feel like you're heard. And everyone knows that, we've both given feedback to Madden before. I still am currently doing it. To feel heard and to see these changes is so amazing.
I agree. I mean, the best way I can sum it up is it's about time, Yeah. Like we have been waiting for this. We've been asking for this. And, I know I'm going to sound jaded here, and I am a little bit. Mm-hmm. I love what they're doing, and I love that we're getting all these features and everything that we've read through and looked at from the reveal trailer. I'm just like, man, they even had little Easter eggs in there, some small stuff, the skill trees. Like, I was genuinely blown away. Part of me, though, wonders, right? Obviously, they're talking about, like, 23 is going to have upgrades, 24 is going to have upgrades to this, blah, blah, blah. That is great. And I think we've seen them turn over a new leaf to a degree. But I have to wonder how much of this was stuff that was on the cutting room floor, right? that maybe a couple of people have been working towards and trying to get it. And they were just like, look, let's take some of the best from the cutting room floor and sort of put it in. Can they keep this level of, wowing the franchise community year over year? That's probably one of my biggest fears. At the same time, that's a good problem to have, right? If we are as a franchise community saying, man, can they wow us like this again next year? That is a problem that we have not had as a community in an extremely long time, well over a decade. So I'm happy. I'm optimistic, and I hope they deliver a lot of these things. I saw some stuff. Brian Mazik from Forbes, one of the Forbes writers, for example, was tweeting about he did a sim, and he noticed that Cam Newton, for example, threw for like 5,700 yards, and like I think north of 50 touchdowns and stuff. So there's some tuning they're obviously going to have to do for franchise. But when you look at the features and the depth that franchise mode has for Madden 22 in comparison to what they've done 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's okay to be happy, in my opinion.
And the thing is, it's also okay to be cautious. You say you're jaded. I wouldn't say it's wrong for anyone to be jaded. It's been 10 years since we've seen major franchise upgrades. And yes, they're coming out with a ton of information. They're coming out with a ton of flash. At the same time, they still have to execute. I said it on my stream. At the same time, I know that they're throwing out pre-order links and all of their, because that's what marketing is, get your pre-orders in. I would tell everyone, do not pre-order Madden at the same time, because you don't know if any of this is going to work. You just said Cam Newton in some of the play tests was throwing for 5,700 yards or 50 touchdowns. Like, this game could come out with serious flaws. It's okay to be hyped up, and it's okay to be cautious, and it's okay to be both at the same time. It's just, for me personally, it just like we're getting like information and we're getting changes, and it looks like effort, which is not something that we could have said before the whole Fix Madden franchise hashtag last year. And again, to hear Sean Grady on this podcast, I think another podcast is dropping the same day this podcast is dropping. I think they're going deep dive into the the new scouting system with Connor Dugan, who is the creative director. It was really good to hear Grady say, hey, look, this is not just 22. We have plans for 23 and plans for 24. This is not a one shot for us. It's not. And he didn't say it was a 3-year build. He said this is an active thing, and it's live content too. One of the other big changes that's happening this year and started to happen last year is they're making franchise mode into a live content mode, a lot like MUT is. And I don't mean that you're going to be paying for things. I mean that Update 1 is going to be a major scouting overhaul. Update 2 is going to have something in it. Update 3, there's going to be 3 major updates throughout the year that is going to, significantly upgrade franchise mode. Sort of what they did this past year. Yeah, the past updates you could say weren't big, but honestly, career stats and team history and award history, when it comes to immersion, those are big things in the Madden franchise mode. Those are big things, even though they're not. They're not going to change your franchise mode. They're not going to change how the CPU works. They're not going to change gameplay. Those are things that connect you to the rest of the league. And that can, or connect you to certain players and stuff. And one of the things you and I have talked about is storytelling. When it comes to franchise mode, if you're playing a single player franchise mode, the story is what's going to link you to be playing multiple seasons. So if you draft a rookie and you can go back and look at his history, or if you draft a rookie, let's say you draft a rookie quarterback that you don't end up extending because he doesn't work out, and he goes to another team, maybe even in division, and starts kicking your ass, right? Like, you have that career, you have that link of, man, I didn't draft that guy, or man, I let that guy go, and he's really, shoving it down my throat now. Like, those are the things that connect you. And even though there were small upgrades, they are building up. Those were the foundations set for Madden 22 and all these really cool, game plan upgrades. Like, those are things that are already in. And it's like you said, can they continue to wow us in 23 and 24? Well, if they continue to have these major feature drops, and then they go, okay, we have these major features, they need a baseline. This looks like it's creating a pretty fantastic baseline. If they get a great baseline, I don't know that they're going to have to continue to wow people if they can just keep adding to it.
It's a great point. I just wonder, we've seen this cycle sort of happen with some sports games, right? I think MLB The Show is a really good example of.
Fantastic example.
Probably the best, most well-rounded sports game for, if we look at a stretch of, NBA 2K is probably there too. I'd probably argue, but MLB The Show, for example, I would say they did so much for so long, and they were building so much for so long, and then it just kind of feels like they got like stagnant in a way to some degree. And again, I don't know if that's because they added so much over so long that it then was hard for them to figure out like where do we go next. Maybe they didn't have that long-term vision or that direction, or maybe it was just a down year, new technology. You don't know, but I hope that Madden, but again, Madden has been dormant for so long in franchise mode that they have so many places to go.
Yeah,
I don't think they'd be where MLB The Show currently is for a long time, but it's still something to keep in mind.
It is definitely something you want to keep that motivation going. I agree with that. One of those things you have to, even though we're happy with where it's going, you kind of want to keep that foot. And this is going to be a bad analogy, but like the foot on the throat. Like you want to keep saying, if you're a fan of Madden, don't let this up. Like keep the expectations high and be like, hey, we're happy as hell you're doing this, but keep this up. Like this is what we want to keep seeing. And if they fix now, the other thing I'm curious about with Madden, which we're going to hear about in a couple of weeks, and I know you and I will be talking about this because it's a mode we both really enjoy or want to enjoy. Face of the franchise. That's the next thing, and it looks like they're making a very large separation between franchise. They're putting it on two separate places now. I need face of the franchise to be good too. I can't have another Heartbreak Kid moment from last year. I can't have this cheesy storyline. That I need a good superstar mode. And you know what? With all the additions to franchise, part of me wants to say, all right, maybe this isn't face of the franchise's year, but I really want to see that. I want to see that upgraded too. I think Mutt's in a very good place in terms of like they get content all the time. I think that's in a very good design place right now. I really want to see face of the franchise get that lift as well.
I think face of the franchise. Here's the thing that I think you and I have both sort of said. We've said it. We're old men yelling at clouds to a degree, but the hope is that someone in EA has been listening or hearing or whatever. Because we're not the only ones to say it. But the beauty of face of the franchise and franchise mode is there is so much shared technology, right?
Right.
Look at the reveal trailer that came out for franchise mode, for example. Those locker room cutscenes, do they look familiar?
Yeah.
They are from the same technology of face of the franchise. So there's so much that is shared between those modes, those skill trees we're seeing for coaches. They could absolutely use that same technology and put it in the face of the franchise to give us skill trees for our characters to go deeper into the customization. I think one of my problems with Madden Superstar mode is that it's built around, like if you're you could have been a quarterback, a running back, or wide receiver last year.
This year, I think they said they're going to add linebacker to that as well. You can't put nothing else besides those four.
For sure. The main issue is that if you were a quarterback, what do you care about the most when you're a quarterback in Madden? Speed. If you're a running back, what do you care about the most in Madden? Speed.
Yeah.
If you're a wide receiver, what do you care about the most in Madden? Speed. Their career mode has been dominated by the speed attribute, and I really, really hope they can get away from that. Give us a skill tree, do something similar what 2K does with the badge system, bring in something outside of, I know we have the X Factor and all those different pieces of that nature, but I need something to differentiate my character from yours. If you and I are both quarterbacks, I want my character to play and feel different than what your character plays, right?
Right.
We go to storytelling. We talk about that all the time. You are doing a career mode. You want it to be as individualistic as you possibly can. One of the best things I think in any sports career mode is how 2K has, you're sort of creating an archetype for your character. I want something like that in Madden where you can feel like, oh my God, I just created this really cool build or this really cool archetype and feel special about my character rather than I'm a heartbreak kid who runs really fast, just like everybody else.
I had a heart attack on the field, came back. Doctor said I should come back, but not play quarterback. I should play wide receiver instead. But then when we go to college, I'm coming to take your job as a quarterback. Wait, what? What college is going to bring both these guys? Anyway.
Get the Emmy.
I have one more question before we move on to some sports talk. Does this, if it works, does this spark the fire under MLB The Show? I think NBA 2K is in a very good place when it comes to their it's called My NBA now. I think they're in a very good place when it comes to their career mode. I'm not a fan of how they interact with the fact that it has to go online, but that's another story for another day. I'm going to talk about specifically MLB The Show because they're opposite sides of the release spectrum. Does this spark that fire of, well, Madden's finally upgrading their franchise mode. It looks like it was successful. It's the one thing we've ignored because they've updated Road to the Show, even though I'm not a fan of how they did it. They've updated, obviously, Diamond Dynasty. March, October feels kind of stagnant, but even there, getting a little bit. Is this the thing that does that, or is MLB The Show so far ahead right now that they don't have to worry about that?
I don't know. I don't have insight right into that team. I don't really have any personal relationships with that team.
Right.
As
a fan, do you think so?
Yeah. My thought is that I think it feels like the MLB The Show devs are more like, Game X or Game Y is doing this. That's cool. That was cool. That's a cool thing. I don't think they see that as direct competition. Like, I think part of that is maybe development team. I think the other part of that's probably baseball. Like, baseball isn't really a sport that looks at other sports and says, like, you're a direct competitor to me.
We'll talk about that later, believe me.
Yeah. Basketball
there's going to be some issue with that coming in later, yeah.
Yeah. Basketball and football, I think, maybe do. But baseball is this weird, siloed, like, game that's been around for a couple hundred years now. It operates in a different way. And I don't think it's the nature of that sport to feel that direct competition. I think that probably extends to the developers of the game.
I unfortunately feel the same way. And even if it did, it's gonna take a year before like their development time, obviously. If you ever think about a video game, normally 9 months ahead of time is where they're starting to set things in stone about feature set and stuff like that and what they're gonna work on. Normally 3 months ahead of a game release. For those of you who don't know, once 3 months happens, the game is essentially done for what it's going to be, and then tuning as you go. You're going to tune the game. You're going to fine tune it, make sure it goes out with a nice coat of polish on it. So it's, and whatever Madden does, I can't believe I'm talking about Madden as the thing that is motivating other games to do franchise mode. Like that's in and of itself is crazy, but I really hope this sparks something, because that franchise mode in MLB The Show, when it used to be one of the most vaunted things that MLB The Show had, and now it's just antiquated. And the worst part is it's getting worse. The trade engine in MLB The Show is actually worse than it was last year, and that was the one thing they tried to update. And again, pandemic. This is, by the way, the last year I'm giving the pandemic excuse. Like, everyone's getting back in the office now. Madden 23 is going to be a full development year. Even MLB The Show at this point, you're going to get most of your development year in the office. I'm done with the pandemic excuse after this year. So after this development cycle, Battlefield 2042, looking at you. Let's get into this week in sports, because ton of stuff going on. We're going to lead off. We lead off with the NBA a lot, but honestly, the playoffs are fantastic right now. As we speak, the Suns are up 2-0 on the Clippers. We talked about this last week, that the Clippers needed to jump on this team while they didn't have Chris Paul. Unfortunately, when this team lost Chris Paul, they got point guard Devin Booker, who is what? Devin Booker has decided he is going to become the next coming of, I guess, Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson isn't even the right, like, let me give you Ray Allen shooting, Chris Paul's facilitating. He was unbelievable in the first two games, and they finished the second game off. Nicholas Batum, I'm gonna destroy Nicholas Batum right now, because the end of the second game, for those who didn't see it, was an alley-oop to DeAndre Ayton, who, again, another guy who is just elevating himself to another level for these playoffs with the Suns, looking like that first pick that he should have. So it was an alley-oop from Jay Crowder to DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton's defender got picked. He got picked in the play, and it was Nicholas Batum's man that picked him. On that play, Nicholas Batum is looking at this pick happen and just stands there and watches Ayton go towards the basket. I'm sorry. You have 0.9 seconds left. The one thing you can't let is a free cutter go to the rim. If you're Nicholas Batum, how are you not one of the best, by the way, known for his defense, how do you stand flat-footed, watch your teammate get his ass handed to him with a shoulder, still get toward, by the way, his teammate almost got to Ayton on that play.
Yep.
Batum, I'm not going to say cost of the game. Obviously, one play doesn't cost you the game, but Nicholas Batum, like, this is what the Clippers' problem is. They look lost. A team that has made their money on defense, and don't get me wrong, Kawhi's out. I get it. But this team looks absolutely lost. And again, Phoenix is the best run offense in the NBA. And how do we know this?
Monty
How do we know
Williams.
it's coming?
Monty Williams is incredible. Drew up that play. That play also was done by the Suns 4 or 5 years prior to Tyson Chandler. And if you haven't seen the highlight of Tyson Chandler dunking it, the man literally dunks it and then shakes the rim so violently. I thought he was like 10 years younger than what he was. And that was Tyson Chandler with a big beard. Now, here's what I'm going to read you something really quick. You're giving a lot of credit to Devin Booker, who, again, one of the most underrated talents in the league. I love Devin Booker. I am a massive Devin Booker fan.
Right.
You also give a lot of credit to DeAndre Ayton. Again, rightfully deserves it. Let me read you the career journey of somebody you did not give love to here. Multiple stints in the G League, waived by the Bulls, 2 10-day contracts with the Cleveland Cavaliers, waived by the Raptors, played 2 games for the Shanghai Loons in the CBA, known as Westbrook's dance partner.
Yeah.
The guy that is not getting enough credit here is Cameron Payton. And I cannot
100%.
believe in the year 2021, I am giving Cam Payton love. Game 1, he had 11 points, which isn't a lot, but he played 29 minutes, had 9 assists for them. Game 2, which was a pivotal game for them to win, right? To go up 2-0 against that team is massive. He has 29 points on 50% shooting again, 9 assists. The most important stat, donut on the turnover part.
Yep.
Cam Payton in 2021 is a viable role player. Not even a role player. He stepped up.
Yeah.
Like, what world are we living in that Cam Payton is doing that? And now you have Chris Paul coming back for game 3. Kawhi Leonard officially ruled out for game 3. Clippers are down tremendous. Pandemic P's not bringing them back. They are down tremendous right now.
How do you think Chicago feels about that campaign, letting campaign go now? Dude, how do you think? I mean, so many teams that have passed up on him. He's been fantastic. The entire team. It's like you said, Monty Williams somehow or another has decided this entire squad, anyone he puts on the floor, has anybody for the Suns looked bad for this play during these playoffs?
No, like, I mean, all their young players are killing it.
Exactly. That's the thing. Everyone is playing. And again, it is because they're not the best defensively. They're really good defensively right now. They're playing very good, but a lot of it is pressure because their offense is so good. They're the best offense in the NBA right now. And this is even when other teams that have already been eliminated, like, this is the best offense, even with the Nets. Like, the Nets weren't even running this clean. Obviously injuries included in that, but Monty Williams should be coach of the year. Monty Williams, who won coach of the year?
Well, there's 2 different ones. There's like the AP one, and then there's another one. Hold on.
Thibodeau won it for the Knicks.
Tom Thibodeau has done a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Monty Williams is coach of the year. It's. I said it months ago. Monty Williams is the coach of the year. Like, what he has done. Also, shout out to Monty Williams. He's from the DMV, so maybe I'm partial to that as well. Fredericksburg, Virginia, in the house. Monty Williams 100% is the coach of the year, and he's proving what he's doing in the postseason with his team. The Knicks played in an East that was, able to be sort of capitalized on. There were some injuries. There were some teams that sort of, weren't necessarily ready all the way or had, some major parts missing. What Monty has done in the Western Conference, unbelievable. This dude deserved a coaching job years ago. I'm glad he finally has it. I'm glad he's absolutely killing it because he's one of the best out there.
He did win coach of the year from the other coaches. The other NBA coach, the NBA Coach Association, like, picked him as and obviously for good reason. Yeah. It still blows my mind. I didn't think they were getting past the Lakers.
I didn't either.
And they this was not like they dominated the Lakers. This was not like they scooted by the Lakers. Let's go over to the Eastern Conference for a second. And before we go on with the Bucks have done and the Bucks Sixers series or the Bucks Hawks series that we're going to get, I have to bring him up. Like, I unfortunately have to bring him up here. Ben Simmons is 3 shots in the fourth quarter in 7 games. Like, and then our friend Scott O'Gallagher, we've had this conversation a couple times since it happened. Ben Simmons can't be a 76er next year.
No.
because for multiple reasons. Don't get me wrong. First of all, the Philly fans are done with him. They're going to destroy him. And I know that after Game 7, Doc Rivers was asked specifically, can you win a championship with Ben Simmons at point guard? And he couldn't answer it. Then Joel Embiid was asked what was the turning point, and he said, well, when we had availability for 2 points, he got 1 point instead. Going directly at the fact that Ben Simmons had a wide open dunk and passed it to Matty Tybalt,
with
who
the
got
nearest
fouled.
defender being Trae Young.
Yes, right. Again, and Tybalt had 2 guys on him. Simmons had nobody. I said this during GCX. I'm going to say it again now. Simmons is scared, and Simmons needs to fix his jump shot. The problem is that Philly does not have the time during their window to win for a project jump shot at the 1. Simmons has to go somewhere, be a 4 or a 5, and it's going to take him. This is not going to be a one off-season fix.
Oh.
This is going to take him 2 or 3 years to fix his jump shot. And even at a 4 or 5, in today's NBA, he's going to have to shoot because he's not going to bang down low. That's not his game, especially not against some of the bigger centers in this league. I don't know where you trade him. He's got to go somewhere, though, right?
I got a couple solutions here. First off, let me just bring this up. It's the year 2017. The Philadelphia 76ers. One of my best friends in life is a 76ers fan, and he's a diehard. And I lived with him through the process. Like we would eat lunch every day, and we were just talking about the process every day. Sam Hinkie, the whole
trust
9
the process,
yards.
right?
So Nate, I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, making you relive this. 2017, the number 1 overall pick for the Sixers is who? Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz has been most famous for what? The issues with his shoulder, clavicle, shooting form, like that whole thing. Yeah. Philadelphia spent seasons trying to fix his jump shot. Seasons trying to fix his jump shot.
There were complete national articles, not local Philly articles. National articles written on Markelle Fultz and his change to his jump shot, by the way. It was that ugly.
Yep. So now Ben Simmons, who they've had, Ben Simmons is how many years in the league? 4 or 5, yeah. Yeah. So Simmons,
he's 20,
Simmons
he'll be 25.
2016. So the year prior to Markelle Fultz, mind you. Okay.
Yeah.
It is documented that Ben Simmons, his family life, his parents forced him to be a lefty in most things. Mm-hmm. Ben, you can read interviews when he was at LSU when he's talking about, I'm naturally a righty, but my mom would always tell me like eat with my left hand, or like use a fork with my right, blah blah blah, eat with my left, use a knife with my right, I use a fork with my left. Like, he has documented reasons of talking about that. And if you watch Ben Simmons' form, it is so, I feel bad for him because there's definitely a psychological block for him right now.
Right.
Ben Simmons, he's literally holding the ball like a righty who is trying to shoot very poorly like a lefty.
Left-handed, yep. Yeah.
And it is so apparent that I hate to see Ben Simmons, who could be a generational talent. I truly believe Ben Simmons has the capability to be a generational talent. You cannot be a generational talent without a jump shot. So to your point, Philly and Scott's point, cannot hold him anymore in Philly. He has got to be gone this offseason. There is a trade destination that makes an insane amount of sense. And you're going to say, oh God, when I tell you. If I'm Elton Brand, the GM of the 76ers, who I think he's a GM, I am trading Ben Simmons to the one destination that will take him, the Oklahoma City Thunder. You can trade Ben Simmons for Kemba Walker. You were probably going to have to give up a draft pick to offload his 30 whatever million you're paying him over the course of the next 4 years. You can offload Ben Simmons or Kemba and then hope that you can have Kemba for a year and then trade him for something that can be of service. You do not have many options. The other option, and this is the one where you're going to vomit. This is a shot in the dark, but if there is any coach that I believe can turn Ben Simmons from...
Oh, no. I don't want to deal with this. No, please don't say this.
Popovich.
The
San Antonio Spurs.
I'm a Spurs fan. You know this is going to hurt me, right?
The Spurs, I can absolutely see, is being the only other team besides OKC to take Ben Simmons. That is a massive contract. But if there's any coach in the NBA that I believe can get Ben Simmons to be the superstar that he's destined to be, it's Greg Popovich.
You know who the coach of U.S. basketball is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's worked with him before. I hate you.
Yep. Tell me it doesn't make sense.
It does, and they have a need for like 4s and 5 for like bigger 4s and 5s, and he's worked with guys like that before. Like
Boris Diaw. Remember how Boris Diaw was bringing the ball up the floor, became a better shooter, didn't have shooting problems like this, but
I can't think about Ben Simmons. Do not do this to me. I cannot think about Ben Simmons on the Spurs right now. Let's just send him to Portland. Trade CJ McCollum over. Let it work in my head.
No shot.
And we'll go from there. Yeah, this is not going to work.
Dame will sit out. No shot.
I know.
Hey, but speaking of the Spurs, though.
Yeah, I know. Go on.
He made a nice, or a former Spur, Popovich disciple. You know, so is it? I can't say his first name. Is it Ime?
It's Ime Udoka. Okay,
sorry, I butchered that. Just got hired by the Celtics.
You're right. Ime Udoka's right. So hired by the Celtics, or getting set to be hired by the Celtics for what it's worth. Yeah. Again, the Popovich tree grows far because he may have another disciple hired in where we just mentioned Portland. Becky Hammond. We talked about this week where she may be hired in Portland. Hopefully, she should.
I hope so.
She's deserving. Like one of the awesome things that Popovich has done is, and we'll talk about Udoka here in a second. One of the awesome things Popovich has done is he's said, you know, when he gets thrown out or when he's not available, Hammond is the coach of that team, of the Spurs. She has shown her basketball acumen, her basketball pedigree. Dude, she needs to be hired. And I'm hoping it's Portland, because if it isn't Portland, it's going to be another team very soon. Like she's that close. So it's going to be a big thing. Udoka in Boston, I actually like, because it's not Chauncey Billups. They didn't go for the big name. They went for the guy they think is going to help them win. Boston has been known to do the whole, hey, maybe we'll get a name in here, not just for coaching, but player-wise too. Maybe we'll get a name in here. You know, we'll keep the tickets coming in. Ime Udoka is a fantastic coach. He's going to be a very, very good coach for Boston. They're going to have to change style up a little bit. They're going to have to really tighten up the ship around there too. Udoka's not going to let them run around and just be ball hogs and, you know, 101, which is a good reason Kemba Walker got sent away. So It's going to be an interesting fit for the Celtics. It's going to be a good thing for the Celtics. I've truly believed that. They got to turn that garbage dump around somehow. But I think Udoka's a great start to doing that in Boston, changing the culture in Boston, which is a big need for them.
Yeah, I think Udoka's 100% the right hire. I love Chauncey Billups. I think Chauncey Billups probably does not get hired this year. I think Chauncey Billups is hired next offseason. That there's going to be more opportunities for him for sure. But again, I hope you see Becky Hammond in Portland. I think that would be the perfect fit. I think the worst thing in the world for Portland would be if we saw Mike D'Antoni go there.
Oh God! And there's talk about that, by the way. D'Antoni's on the list. It's that people, just because he runs such a great offense, like people just keep giving him opportunities. And don't get me wrong, I like Mike D'Antoni. He makes a very entertaining team to watch. But there isn't a Mike D'Antoni team that's seen a defense they've liked in forever. No. You just run your team too ragged doing it. So he is what he is right now. What he should be, assistant coach. That's in charge of the offense. That's what he should be. There's no way he should be a head coach anymore. But you know, the NBA, they like to retread sometimes.
I think if you're Portland, the only reason you hire D'Antoni is if you want CJ McCollum to also average 25 plus points a game and then use him to be traded. If you want to increase his value, the best coach to help you get inflated offensive stats is Mike D'Antoni. Then you can trade CJ McCollum in that
all those stories about empty stats that came out this week about empty stats in the NBA. Mike D'Antoni is the cause of all of them, the cause of every single one of them. Before we move on to the NBA draft, because I do want to talk about the draft lottery that just happened. I want to ask you, Bucks and Hawks. Bucks are the favorite to win the championship right now, and it's not a real close race. What do you think here in terms of Bucks Hawks?
What do I think happens? I think Milwaukee wins the series.
Okay, how many games do you
think? 6 games, but I want Atlanta to win because I want Atlanta Phoenix in the finals.
Atlanta Phoenix would be a fire finals. They match up really well together. I don't think. I think Phoenix, dude. I hate to say this because I keep changing up whenever I see it. But the more I watch Milwaukee play, dude, they're frauds. It's a team of frauds. The only reason they got past the Nets is because the Nets were hurt. And I think everyone believes that. And it took overtime and Kevin Durant wearing a size too big of a shoe to make Milwaukee get through that series. I'm with you, man. I think Milwaukee I think they're a fraud team, which is crazy to say for a team in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think if Phoenix continues their route of the Clippers, which we all think they are going to, they're going to destroy Milwaukee with that offense. Milwaukee can't keep up with that. So, draft lottery, though. Let's talk about the draft lottery. So the draft lottery happened this week. Detroit gets the first overall pick. Not a lot of big surprises in terms of the teams. The top 5, which are the big ones for this draft, because this draft is known as being very, very top heavy before it falls off a cliff. It's gonna be Detroit, Houston, Cleveland, Toronto, Orlando. After the first 5 picks in this draft, which should be whatever order they go in, the first 5 I don't think change. After that, there's a serious drop off in talent in this draft. I will say to you, first overall pick, who do you think is going to be for Detroit? And in this draft, I'm gonna put you on the spot. With the way we know the draft order is now, we kind of have an idea where everyone's going to go. Who do you think ends up having the best impact year 1?
Got it. Cade Cunningham is definitely going to be the number 1 overall pick.
We agree.
He even just said, I'm not interviewing with anybody but Detroit. He knows it. He's doing what a number 1 pick should do. Don't mess around and mess up your money, right? Get that money, get that number 1 overall pick, get all the sponsorships, go on about your day. I'm going to give you 3 players that I think are going to be massive contributors, depending on where they land, outside of Cade Cunningham, because he obviously is the main guy we're talking about. 1, Scottie Barnes. Put your arms out as long as you can. Add a foot to him. That's his wingspan. The dude has go gadget arms. Scottie Barnes is going to be an absolute stud in the league. He can play that 3-4. If you can get that 3-point shot, it'll be a little bit better. I think he will be one of the best 3-and-D guys 5 years out in the NBA. I got to do it because I'm a Duke homer.
I'm real quick. I'm going to say
Johnson.
For Barnes real quick. I don't want to cut you off. For Barnes, he can play 5 in a small.
True.
In a small, he can play a 5. Just keep an eye on him because he did that for FSU a couple times. If a team goes small, dude, he's 6'9". Like you said, he's got a huge wingspan. He can guard 5s if he needs to. Go ahead.
Yep. Jalen Johnson. As a Duke fan, I got to get my Duke guys in here.
Right.
Jalen Johnson, I think, was just he had a negative product based off of what happened with Duke, right? The 50-plus games they had to sit out because of COVID, the weirdness of that season, him not gelling with Coach K a lot. I think Jalen Johnson will be a very good player. I don't trust his jump shot, but I'm telling you, Johnson could be a really good dude. The biggest issue for him is going to be if a team tries to make him play some back to the basket stuff.
Yeah.
That's not what he's going to be good at. Let that dude fly. Let him come from the short corner. Help him on that jump shot. Jalen Johnson is going to be a very fun NBA player to watch for a very long time. Lastly, I'm debating between 2 of my players that I have right here. I'm going to go. Oh, this is hurting me. I'm going to do it. Zaire Williams out of Stanford. I'm honestly, I'm in between Zaire Williams and then
give me the other one. Yeah, give me the other one.
Isaiah Jackson out of Kentucky, because I think we don't really talk enough about like centers right now. I think Isaiah Jackson.
I love Isaiah Jackson. Yep.
I think Isaiah Jackson can be like the I'm trying to think of like a good comp for him. Like I don't even think I have a good comp. Ultimately, I think you're going to get a really good defensive center out of him, and you're going to be able to get a guy that can go up and get the ball. He's not going to give you a 20 and 10 immediately, but I think like how I maybe thought Bam Adebayo was going to be used when he came out of college.
Bam is who I thought of. Yeah, Bam is who I thought of. Like young Bam before he got an offensive game.
Exactly. So like I can see Isaiah Jackson having a very similar early year, but Bam obviously turned the corner and went way further than I think a lot of us really thought he was going to be. I think Zaire Williams is going to be one of the better all-around guards we have coming out of here. He might shift to be a 3, but I think if they keep him at a 2, he's going to have a really good advantage. This dude is going to be a great all-around ball player. I'm hoping we see him. He's going to be a later first-round draft pick, probably post-lottery. we'll see. There's a lot of teams that could use a guy like that. Let him go to the Knicks. I think that could be a good pickup for them. But yeah,
Knicks
those are
have
my
2 first rounders, by the way. Still, Knicks, but we talked about Porzingis trade. They're still winning that Porzingis trade. So,
yep.
I'm going to add one more to that, and it's somebody that we didn't really see play a ton. Is going to be Jonathan Kaminga. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going out on a big branch here. He is one of the top 5 that we've talked that have been talked about. I just think with the way he plays the wing, he can play up, he can play down. I just think he's one of those guys. I think he's one of those guys that's athletic enough to make an impact in his first year. I think his shooting is not great, but he has a good form. Like, I think he's one of those guys that's going to increase his shooting as he goes. But I mean, you're talking about a 6'8" guy, kind of lanky, kind of long, definitely long, hyper athletic. It's one of those guys that you really like to see in the NBA. I think he ends up going probably, if I had to guess, I think he goes to Toronto 4. I think they're looking for like a wing, either a 2 or a 3. I know he's more 3-4. I think he goes to Toronto. I can't see him going. I pretty much think Jalen Suggs is probably going to go 2. And obviously we think Cade's going first. I think Suggs is going 2. I think some form of Mobley, Kaminga, and Green go the next 3. I think ends up being Mobley 3 and Green 5. So I think Kaminga is going to look really good in Toronto. I think he's going to look really good next to Pascal Siakam. I just think it's going to be a really awesome fit for him with how they play. And I think he is going to be a superstar in the league. So
I love Kaminga's game. If I can give you one other guy that I love that I forgot was in this draft, so I just looked through the rankings again. Charles Bassey. So Charles Bassey was going to be a lottery pick if he came out his freshman year, but he didn't because I think he had an ACL injury and I think he hurt his leg again. Bassey, if he's healthy, is going to be a major contributor for a team. He's probably going to be a late first round like grab that someone gets, or he's going to be an early second rounder. I can see a team let him go to a San Antonio type team or something of that nature. I think Charles Bassey is going to be a stud. If he's healthy, that's just the biggest question I have about him.
One guy I will say that's going to, when we talk about impact first year, I always like to look at defensive players. I'm going to stick with not a college player, but a Euro. Usman or it's Garuba. Sorry, it's Usman Garuba out of Spain. I think defensively he is going to make some team really, really good. I don't think, again, his offensive game has a lot to be desired. I think he's like 6'9", 6'10". He's better fit at the 4, but can guard 3 and guard 5. I think that's one of those guys, probably mid first round. That, you know, again, this draft, if you have not looked into this draft, it is top 5, and then everyone after that is just going to be a crapshoot. I think this is one of those guys that's going to make a huge impact his first year defensively. Reminds me, I hate to say it, comp-wise of like a Matty Tybal, but the kind of perimeter defender you really like to see. Really puts his nose into the grindstone for that kind of stuff. Let's move on to some baseball. I know we touched on the foreign substance policy for Major League Baseball, but it has been instituted as of Monday. As of Monday, umpires can check freely. Coaches have always been able to offer challenges. But a couple of nights ago, we had Joe Girardi of the Philadelphia Phillies challenging Max Scherzer on 3 different occasions. And don't get me wrong, there's some gamesmanship here. But at the third time the umpires walked up to him, Scherzer threw his glove on the ground, tossed his hat, pulled his belt off, and pulled his pants down to his knees and said, "What else do you want?" After the game, Girardi says, "Listen, I know how this looks, but you know, I've watched Max for a long time. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't know why Girardi all of a sudden became New Yorker, but whatever. But I've never seen Max Scherzer go to his hair as many times as I've seen tonight." I'm going to be for those of you that have not seen Max Scherzer pitch, there is not a pitcher in the league that goes to more things on his body per pitch than Max Scherzer. He has nervous tics, you would think.
I thought he had Tourette's, honestly, the way that he moves sometimes.
Dude, it's constant. It is a constant thing. And then The best part of this game is that Scherzer, when he's walking off the mound, I think for the last time or after one of the innings, literally stares Girardi down his whole way in. Because you know Scherzer's
crazy dude.
Yeah, I don't want to be. You think I want to be? Dude, he pitched after getting his nose broken in a bunt on a bunt drill. And then Girardi got thrown out after he came out on the field. I'm going to say this. Girardi's a jerk. Girardi's an asshole. He has a history, an absolute history of being an absolute jerk. This game, Major League Baseball, is starting to gain fans back. They're let the kids play, you know, the bat flips, the more fun. Trevor Bauer out here drawing sheathing swords after strikeouts. I love it, man. It's bringing fun back to the game, and it's working. Their ratings are going up. Fans are going back to the ballpark after the pandemic. They're actually gaining fans. They can't stop shooting themselves in the foot. They just can't. And this is going to be causing problems. They're trying to make everything to make the game go shorter. And then we have Girardi testing Max Scherzer. We have Sergio Romo getting the same thing. We have guys getting their hat. Giovanni Gallegos getting taken off. Managers are now using this to try to shake up ball players. I'm done with it, dude. I'm so done with it. You're putting this, you know, pun not intended, absolute tarnish on the game right now when it's looking so good with guys like Fernando Tatis really showing up. Why can baseball not get this right? Why can baseball not stop shooting themselves in the foot?
This is what baseball does. And my frustration with this is that Girardi is using, for people that don't care about baseball, the best way I can give you an analogy for this is that imagine if coaches, when field goals were being kicked, had an unlimited amount of timeouts to ice the kicker. It's essentially what's happening to pitchers, where pitchers are in a rhythm, and then the coach is like, foreign substance check.
Right.
They're not being policed. They're able to go ahead and do it. And now the pitcher has to stop everything they're doing. More than likely, they're going to be frustrated. And now they have to go back into their rhythm again. Baseball is a game of rhythm. It's a game of superstition. It's a game of a whole lot of little things that lead up to one massive, amazing thing. I hope they get around to this, but being as their commissioner is Rob Manfred, and he came out today and said that he thinks these are going swimmingly well and sees no issues.
Awful.
I don't have any faith in baseball getting this right.
Rob Manfred is challenging Gary Bettman for worst commissioner in sports. And Gary Bettman is not the guy you want to be associated with in terms of this. I really hope they get their crap together, because again, it's been such a great year for baseball in terms of getting fans back in the stadium and the young players really getting a chance to show up and stuff. It's really starting to drive me insane that they consistently will not get out of their own way. Next up, the NCAA. Talk about getting out of your own way. July 10th, or no, July 1st, a lot of states are going to rule. They're going to have a lot of laws being put into place that college athletes are going to be able to earn their own salary in terms of using their likeness. The Supreme Court and Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, all-time asshole, by the way. Sorry for the language multiple times. He deserves it. I can't believe I'm agreeing with him. Literally said, you know what? They're right. But there is no other industry in this world where people make so much money and don't get paid for it. Make so much money for the company they're associated with and don't get paid for it. Billion-dollar industry the NCAA sports are, especially football, obviously football and basketball being the two big breadwinners. And now Mark Emmert, otherwise known as NCAA head puppet, has said that if the NCAA Division I teams and the power conference teams don't start instituting guidelines, he's going to use executive order to do it. So his executive order with the NCAA would trump state laws because it's essentially a business. It's a private business at this point. This also affects, video games, obviously, because players want to get paid for their likeness in video games. This would allow them to get paid for, EA Sports college football. There's a college basketball game coming out. My problem is this. Mark Emmert is obviously doing this because there are so many rich owners, presidents of these schools, athletic directors getting paid huge money from donors, huge money from alumni. They don't want to, obviously don't want to give it up, because once they give it up, they're never going to get it back. Why are we having to deal with this? State laws are coming in. As of July 1st, I think in Texas is one of them. A couple of these are state laws we're dealing with. I think a lot of them are going, July 10th. There are states across the country are going, college athletes can make their own money. What is going on here?
It's all about power. Sports have always have been, always will be. They'll continuously always be about power. Mark Emmert is doing exactly what you said he's doing. He's trying to hold on to the last little bit of power that they can have, because that power equates to money, and they are making massive amounts of money.
He's the banker. He's the banker. He's the banker with the code to the vault.
100%.
And he just won't let it go.
And he's the one that sees how much players could be potentially making and realizing we don't want to pay them that at all. College athletes, I've made this analogy so many times. I think I've done it in this podcast as well. But if you were, Mills, born one of the world's most gifted tuba players of all time, you could be on college for a scholarship.
I did play the tuba.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I was pretty good at it too.
I can see now that you shaved your beard, I know that you play the tuba. But you could, if you were a gifted tuba player and you got a scholarship to the University of Maryland, right? You're happy, you're excited. You can go to University of Maryland. You're, on the band or whatever. Essentially, you're getting your tuba solos. You're living your best tuba life. You could then go be paid to go perform at Carnegie Hall and play your little tuba solo with your little tuba fingers, and you had a little tuba notes are flying out there. But if you were born naturally gifted as an athlete, college athletics will not allow you to monetize the same gift with your likeness that you've been doing unless it's done in a way that benefits them. It is the most annoying and frustrating thing that I have seen forever. Just because you are gifted as an athlete, you are held back. If you're gifted as a musician in college or whatever that other interest you may have in artists, right? If you're painting or whatever that may essentially be, you're golden. It's beyond frustrating, and I'm glad that we're starting to see some change. But I know this is going to be capped, right? I think a lot of the rumors are saying it's going to be limited to a certain portion of money because they don't want players to make exuberant amounts of money.
Right.
But I can tell you within the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of these SEC schools, these Pac-12 schools that are essentially having people, having governors or senators or people that are running for representative offices, this will be a hotbed topic because college football rules a lot. People will get people to vote for them solely based on the fact that they are for expanding this program to allow players to make more money, because that more money that's coming in means that more recruits will likely go to their school, which means they can have a better Saturday. And that is how people view this. Sports are way more impactful in societal issues for a lot of people, especially if you're in certain territories. I guarantee this becomes a political issue more so than we've seen before.
You ready for this? This is what needs to happen, and it will eventually happen. I don't know when, but it will. The NCAA Players Association. That's all they need to hear.
Yep.
If you become an NCAA athlete, you are represented now by the NCAA Players Association. That's what they need, because that's what's been holding them back for so long. Obviously, besides politics and the dictatorship that is the top of college athletics. But at the same time, like, the players really can't unionize, may not be the word, but like something like that. Like, they can't organize because they're spread over so many different places, and none of them want to lose their opportunity at their scholarship. At the same time, I do want to bring up that this brings a huge return for video games, because the second this gets done and video games can pay players for their likenesses, look forward to it, because video games will pay players for the likenesses and make college football games or college basketball games or college swimming games or whatever, college baseball
Ultimate Team
games,
content, whatever that may be.
Yeah, everything is the second they can do that, they absolutely will, because college football, college sports are one of those. Madden is great. Don't get me wrong. Madden's great. 2K is great. Like, you have all these things. You link up those college towns and college athletes and just college fans with a video game. Oh, it becomes rabid, and you know exactly how that works. So if you're a college athlete and you're listening to this, fight, keep fighting, keep fighting. You deserve to be paid no matter how big or how small you are, because that billions of dollars that are going to the NCAA, it's on your backs. So continue to fight for it.
Amen. Mills, before we get out of here, finals prediction. Who's going to the finals, NBA, and who's winning and how many games?
I would say the Suns are going to the finals versus the Hawks. I do think the Hawks are going to pull it out with against the Bucks in a 7-game series, and I think the Suns win in 5.
Okay.
I think the Suns right now. I think what we're seeing with the Suns in the West is the Suns are playing against Western teams. That is the gauntlet that the West normally is. I really think the East is a lot weaker than we thought it was. Seeing the Nets get hurt. The one thing I wish we would have seen these playoffs is fully healthy teams.
Agreed.
I would love to see fully healthy teams. The Embiids of the world not having the meniscus tear. Obviously, the Harden and the Kyries of the world. Chris Paul not going into. It doesn't even look like it matters that Chris Paul went to COVID at this point. But I think the injuries really took away from these playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I am going to go Milwaukee just because I think they do somehow net it out, just because Atlanta's game is more predicated on shooting. And you need John Collins to show a big, especially against, he's probably going to be, I don't know who the game's on now, but I'm sure he's going to be covering Giannis a good bit, or at least Chris Middleton. Yeah. It's going to be a really tough task for him. So I am going to say Milwaukee nets it out, but I think the Suns win the NBA championship, and I'll be happy to see Chris Paul get a ring.
By the way, NHL, I know the Isles just got their doors blown off, 8-0 by the Lightning. Look forward to the Islanders coming back, winning against Lightning and forcing a Game 7. I know you NHL fans out there harp at me all the time that I don't bring some NHL to the podcast. Here it is for you. By the way, I hate the Montreal Canadiens. I hope they lose. I need the Vegas Knights to come back in that series as well. I need Vegas and Islanders both down 3-2 in this series. In their respective series, I need them in the Stanley Cup, because I think Vegas and New York would be a fantastic, or Long Island, whatever the hell you want to call it, be a fantastic Stanley Cup final. And we will talk Stanley Cup once it's set, by the way. Just a heads up on that.
Yeah, what Mills said. We'll talk hockey once it's set.
Oh, geez. If you could see his face, I will talk hockey with you fans. Listen to me. If you're listening to this podcast, I will talk hockey throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. I promise you. I don't care if it thinks I'm talking like algebra to him.
And I'll go to sleep when that happens. Yo, Mills, great episode this week. I look forward to seeing your beard grow back week after week.
Should take like those daily pictures and put it up as like, yeah, it's sort of, I might do weekly instead of daily. So
yeah, honestly, your camera needs some time to not have to look at that. But yo, Mills, great episode. You know the deal. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. See you guys in the next episode.
Ciao.